ridiculous notions.
I'm recording and
what
you might hear some stuff in the background.
diversity
This is a
means,
speech.
and he gets to approve any speech that happens.
Well, this guy's literally like the backwards
precisely what Stalin
of
thought
my
of
introduction. This is funny.
Here's what William Covino said, quote, "After careful consideration, I have
Sorry
decided,
about the cough. I actually inhaled some water.
that it will be best
This is
for our
a
nephew's
diamond
He decided it will be best for you.
Terran,
Mom.
so this should
If we
be
reschedule Ben
interesting if I
Shapiro's
play it
appearance
well.
for a later date, so that we can arrange for him to appear as part of a group of speakers with differing viewpoints and diversity. Such an event will better
Again, there's a
represent
speech going on in the
our university's
background that me
dedication
and my
to
friend are
free
listening to,
exchange
so
of ideas
please
and the value
try to
of
focus more on the
considering
gameplay. I'll try and also
You
talk
can hear
a
how
little
well
bit
this free
about what
exchange
I'm
of
doing
ideas is
if I
going
get
when
the
there are
chance
people
to.
literally standing outside, pushing down reporters like Adele Nazarian at Breitbart, assaulting people outside, threatening acts of violence to prevent people from hearing a dissenting point of view. That's free exchange of ideas on America's college campuses. That's free exchange of ideas thanks to the American left. That's free exchange of ideas thanks to William Covino and his thug rule here. The value of considering multiple viewpoints. How about this viewpoint? Let people say what they're going to say. Is that so rough?
Base is under attack. SCVs under
Oh,
attack.
this guy's in a Terran. Terrans don't do this to other Terrans.
In the name of a free exchange of ideas and considering multiple viewpoints, Covino and company
you're no
tried to
true
shut this
Scotsman,
event down,
sir.
of course. In the name of diversity, he went full round shirt. Let me explain
lesbian
for
gas.
the idiots in this administration. I am the diversity. Free speech does not require your censorship. I don't have to be drowned out by opposing views. It turns out that that's what you're trying to do outside. Turns out that's what your faculty does every day in your classrooms with my taxpayer dollars, since I pay taxes in this state. So, we're here.
Not enough minerals.
We're here for free speech,
Not enough
and we're here for the
minerals.
First Amendment. Welcome to America, where you and your jackboots don't get to shut down debate just because you disagree. No
Upgrade
matter how hard you
complete.
try, you can all go screw yourselves.
Not
It's not just William Covino, of course, it's Professor Robert Wyde, who objected to this lecture taking place on campus, just like a good little intellectually inferior professor should. He said that the students who sponsored this event are white supremacists, and if you've ever met the students of YAF, you know how untrue this is. He has invited those students to fight him at the gym in the USU building at 1 p.m. tomorrow, stating, quote, "I lift, bro." By the way, white supremacists love Orthodox Jews. They're famous for having their meetings at our synagogue. So he says, "I lift, bro." Simmer down there, Mongo. We live in a country where we don't actually have to fight each other physically in order to make our points. It's called civilization. You should try it sometime.
add-on
And again,
complete.
folks, if you're watching on the live stream,
what kind of jump was that?
see entering right
He was
now
like in
are
the air for like
free
90% of that time.
because in America in 2016, you have to use the back door if you want to participate in free speech. You get to block the front door if you're a member of the
He's
left.
going close banshees on.
Professor Wyde, by the way, he doesn't want to try it, apparently. He doesn't want to try this whole free speech
canceling
thing. When he
it? No,
spotted
not
students
as far
putting
as
up
I can
flyers
tell.
for this event, he called in the guys with the guns,
Not
the campus
enough
security,
minerals.
because he wouldn't want posters microaggressing you, of course. He then said that the students
Not
putting
enough
up these
minerals.
posters were fascists, because putting up posters, that's fascist. And then he suggested that the students were responsible for death threats he had received, and he wrote on a sign outside his office, "The best response to microaggression is macroaggression." In other words, if I'm offended, I get to take
Not
physical
enough
action
minerals.
against you. I get to be
Not
violent
enough minerals.
with you, and that's what we're watching outside right now. For those of you who don't speak low IQ, what Professor Wyde means
Not
is
enough
that the best
minerals.
response to hearing things that you don't like is hurting people who say those things. I guarantee you this, I've certainly received more death threats than Professor Wyde. Some might be from people in this room, like, for example, certainly from people outside. One Reuben Martin, who told another professor at this university, Melina
Additional
Abdullah, via
supply
Facebook, and this is how it's written.
Ready to plunder.
And there it is, gang.
Go ahead.
Guess what?
In the rear with
You know
the
what?
gear.
They're not going to stop us.
SCV ready.
Additional supply depots complete.
All right.
Additional
Melina Abdullah's fan, Reuben Martin, wrote, "You want I should hoid 'em, boss. I got a few's ideas me and the fella's been kicking round. Only ting is he won't be talking or looking so nice no more. We'll take the cannolis." The reason I'm reading it in this way is because this is exactly how it's written. Hoidem is spelled Hoiwt''E''. Speaking of Professor Abdullah, she posted this on her Facebook wall earlier this week. Folks, if you're just joining the live stream, somebody pulled the fire alarm to stop this. This is how the fascists do. Professor Abdullah posted this on her Facebook wall, quote, "When diversity becomes a problem has been scheduled for February 25th at Cal State LA, a campus that is 90% students of color, and during Black History Month. I say this event is a problem. What we gun do, y'all?" And again, gun is spelled G-O''N. How about you can try listening? How about that instead of pulling the fire alarm or stopping people from entering? Or at the very least, why don't you start using proper grammar? You're a professor. By the way, Professor Abdullah teaches a class that fulfills a diversity requirement at this university, a requirement designed to encourage tolerance and acceptance of others. You can hear the tolerance and acceptance coming from the speakers in this room as they attempt to evacuate the premises so people don't hear my deeply scary and frightening ideas. I have a question. Where is the administration on this campus? Where the hell is the administration on this campus? If this sort of language came from the right against the left, you can guarantee the administration would be looking at suspensions or firings. If this sort of thing happened during classes at this university, the kid who pulled the fire alarm would be off this campus so fast it would make your head swim. But not you out there, the protesters, those special, magical leftist children protected from the consequences of living in the real world with my taxpayer dollars. You get to shut us down for disagreeing with your thug tactics and your nasty, pathetic, evil ideology. So, with those preliminaries out of the way, let's talk about when diversity becomes a problem. Let's start by defining our terms for a second.
I don't think so.
Diversity can mean a whole host of things. Some of those things are good, some of those things are bad. If you had a dinner party that was comprised of O.J. Simpson and Charles Manson and the Menendez brothers, that's a diverse dinner party in one way. In another way, it's not a very diverse dinner party at all. If you had a dinner party comprised of Mother Teresa, Gloria Steinem, and Phyllis Schlafly, that would also be a diverse dinner party in one way, and in another way, wouldn't be diverse at all. Three women with different points of views. In the first case, you'd have three murderers with differing races. So what exactly are we talking about here? There are three types of diversity. Diversity of skin color or ethnicity, diversity of fundamental values, and diversity of viewpoint. Two of these types of diversity are complete wastes of time, and seeking them is wildly destructive. One of these types of diversity is good and useful. Naturally, on today's college campuses, in Barack Obama's America, in today's America, the two that are destructive and terrible are held in high regard, particularly on campuses like this. The one that is useful and valuable they set on fire, then beat to death with a claw hammer. So let's start with diversity of skin color. Diversity of skin color and ethnicity is absolutely meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. The color of your skin should not matter one iota. It is anti-scientific, it is a waste of time, it is an excuse for people of one political perspective to shut people up who don't have that political perspective. It's become cliche at this point to cite Martin Luther King and his admonition to judge people by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. That doesn't mean that MLK was wrong. He was right. Malcolm X was wrong. But just walk out front. Malcolm X won. Martin Luther King lost. All the racist leftists outside, they seem to think that's wrong. Skin color is the only thing that matters. My viewpoint, according to Professor Abdullah, had to be shut down because this college is 90% people of color. This is called racism, gang. Viewpoints being shut down because of the color of skin is called racism. So first a question. How is this college statistically diverse by your own measure? By your standards, isn't it racist and discriminatory against white people? Here's how your college breaks down ethnically, as well as sexually. 37% male, 57% female, 9% black, 21% Asian Pacific Islander, 50% Hispanic, 11% white, and 9% race or ethnicity unknown. Here are the ethnicity statistics for the city of Los Angeles. 41.3% white, 47.5% Latino or Hispanic, 9.8% black, 10.7% Asian, and 0.2% Pacific Islander. So get cracking, you racist bastards. Throw out all the extra Asians you got hanging around here, as well as those 10% of extra Hispanics. Start piping in some white folks, because apparently the only thing that matters is skin color, right, gang? The only thing that matters is that you be represented at population levels equal to the population levels outside this university. And all you sexists. Now's a perfect time to toss all these women out of the university so there's statistical parity with men. You're already doing it with SAT scores on the American left. According to Princeton University, back before they shifted the SAT so that it was out of 2,400 instead of 1,600.
Not enough.
Blacks
energy.
received a bonus of 230 points on the 1,600-point SAT. Hispanics got a bonus of 185 SAT points on average. Asians, who, as we all know, there's Asian privilege in America. I mean, come on, it was founded by Asians. It's been a nation of Asian men forever. Asians face a loss of 50 SAT points on average. And this is when out of 1,600-point scale. So let's take a look at your current admission stats and throw out all these terrible beneficiaries of Asian privilege who overpopulate your campus by statistics. Well, doesn't it work that way?
Additional
I don't
supplies
care
imposed.
whether my doctor or my lawyer or my mechanic, plumber, white, black, or brown. You should not eat it. You do. It's not America's campus. The reason that people on this campus feel good about using discriminatory racial language, calling for students to be indoctrinated in the value of diversity of skin color, is because it gives them a feeling of unearned moral superiority. They're better people. Well, they're not superior, and they're certainly not moral. Facts that hurt your feelings are facts, regardless of your race, and as I am deeply fond of saying, facts do not give one good damn about your feelings. Correct arguments are correct. Regardless of who's arguing, bad arguments are bad, no matter how much melanin you have in your skin. The focus on skin color diversity makes people empty-headed, closed-minded at the same time. Any problem people have can be blamed on your skin color or somebody else's skin color. You're so focused on retreating like a turtle into some ridiculous, arbitrary group identity based on skin color, you blame all of life's problems on somebody else. That's what this term white privilege is all about, a way of blaming somebody else for your problems in a purely racist fashion based on the color of their skin. The higher poverty rate in minority communities is not a result of white privilege or any other magical racist ether out there. It is a result of educational and lifestyle decisions about childbearing and child rearing. The higher criminality rate in the black community is not the result of evil white cops. And thank you to the cops who are doing their jobs under heavy threat here. And under pressure from this administration to make room for people to do things that are blatantly violative of First Amendment principles. You don't want to go to jail for murder, it turns out, or for any crime? Don't commit the crime. It's that simple. Here's the fact about that supposedly evil justice system. It under-prosecutes murder in minority communities. Minority communities are under-policed. There aren't enough cops in minority communities. When the police do come into contact with black people, like, for example, the Flying Black Lives Matter movement says, police are less likely to kill black people than white people in the same circumstances, according to John Jay College professor Peter Moskos. As early as 1994, the DOJ surveyed felony cases in the country's 75 largest urban areas and found lower felony prosecution rates for blacks than for whites. In New York City, minorities keep running into cops because minorities keep committing an outstanding number of crimes. From January to June of 2008, 98% of all gun assailants in New York City were Hispanic or black. Stop and frisk in that city, supposedly racist stop and frisk, under-targeted minorities by about 15%.
Complete.
So, you can bitch and you can moan about these white skin privilege and the need for diversity of skin color. Let's go out and arrest, I guess, some innocent white people so that we can make up for this statistical imbalance. Or you can fix the problem by leading a responsible life and not getting involved in negative activity. It appears that at this university, the professors prefer to bitch and moan. So, Professor Abdullah, that delight, she calls the police slave catchers. She says the police ought to be abolished because nothing will be better for the high crime areas of the country, particularly in ethnic minority communities, than the police completely moving out. It's working beautifully in cities like Detroit and Washington, D.C. and New York City.
Not enough.
It's why we've seen crime rates skyrocket in the major cities all around this country in the last year. Diversity of skin color doesn't help people of color, it hurts people of color, at least as a principle. That's because of the second type of diversity the left preaches, and that is diversity of fundamental values. So here's the second type of diversity. The second type of diversity is diversity of fundamental values. People on the left
There's the
seek
kicker.
to blame one culture and one culture only for all the problems in life, the constitutional, capitalistic, Judeo-Christian system of the United States. They proclaim that all values are equally deserving of wonderful consequences. All values are just great, including values of blocking people from hearing dissenting speech. Diversity means accepting fundamental value systems that overthrow good values like the ones that the United States is based on. So, for example, after 130 Parisians were killed by radical Muslims in Paris, President Obama said, quote, "We can all do our part by upholding the values of tolerance and diversity and equality that help keep America strong." In the aftermath of Paris, nobody in the mainstream political conversation or close to it was talking about expelling Muslim citizens from the United States, which would be horrifying and violative of an actual basic principle, freedom of religion. So what exactly was Obama talking about? Presumably he meant that we shouldn't use our head and elevate our security concerns based on statistical probability. Police and our national security apparatus should pretend that Swedish Unitarian grandmothers pose as much of a security risk as young Muslim males immigrating from Middle Eastern countries. After the Fort Hood Islamic terrorism attacks killing 13 American soldiers, Obama's chief army officer, General George Casey, he said, quote, "Our diversity, not only in our army but in our country, is a strength. And as horrific as this tragedy was, if our diversity becomes a casualty, I think that's worse. Worse than 13 dead people." Again, the implication seems to be that if we treat all value systems, including those with a higher probability of terrorist involvement or violence, equally beneficial and benevolent, that's a good thing. It's not. It hurts. Turns out, certain values work and certain values don't. Sorry to break it to folks. Sorry to break it to people. Certain values are better than other values. But by pretending that all fundamental value systems are equal, the left gets rid of any relationship between cause and effect, because all the left truly cares about is fairness of outcome, not fairness of opportunity. So if you are a criminal and you end up in jail, that's unfair according to the left because you ended up in jail. Never mind that you are a criminal. All of this is designed to abolish responsibility. That's what the left wants. No responsibility. When bad things happen, blame white supremacy, blame the system. So here's the deal. Your life is in your hands. If you want to have a successful life, you want to be successful, stop blaming other people for your own mistakes. The greatest predictor for intergenerational poverty in America is single motherhood. The white man isn't responsible, the white system isn't responsible for any person, unless it's rape, and that's a rare occurrence, isn't responsible for you getting your girlfriend pregnant and then ditching her. Okay, that's a result of you being a piece of garbage. Okay, your inability to hold down a job isn't the result of some racist white system unless you can show that your employer is actually doing things for racial reasons. It's either the result of an individual racist, which is still not the result of a system, so we should move to get him fired, because racist firings are illegal, will be prosecuted. Or it's not racism, it could be your lack of skills. Your inability to get a proper education isn't white racism either. It's a government system that sucks for everybody. I mean, for people who went to LAUSD like I did, we all know this. Okay, LAUSD is a garbage heap. The crimes you commit are on you, they're not on anybody else. These are basic values of decency. Being a decent human being is a worthwhile value. Being indecent and then saying that diversity makes it all okay is an indecent value. And by the way, it tears communities apart. Robert Putnam, who's not a conservative, he's a leftist, he wrote a book called Bowling Alone. And he believed in the mantra diversity is our strength when he started investigating. Then he started doing experiments regarding communities. What he saw was that diversity in communities, racial, ethnic diversity, which these days comes along with diversity of fundamental values thanks to the left, it didn't lead to better or more cohesive or more tolerant communities. He said, this is what he wrote, quote, "The only two things that go up as the diversity of your census tract goes up are protest marches and television watching." Does this sound familiar? Putnam concluded the only way to create social capital, that's all the good stuff that allows us to trust our next door neighbor, leave the door unlocked at night, have somebody babysit for your kid, it comes from shared value. Shared value. Not diversity of value, not diversity of skin color, shared values. Putnam said this is what happens in religious communities. This is why diversity of skin color, for example, works in religious communities just fine. Because if everybody has the same goal, and that goal involves fundamental values that are good, then you end up with a freer, better society. Then diversity is wonderful. It's a diversity of experience, but shared values and shared goals and a shared vision for a better country. So, what are these common fundamental values we shouldn't be diverse about? How about an easy one? How about free speech? Can we start there? How about that as a fundamental value?
Who would have thunk it?
How about freedom of religion and of the press, assembly and petition? How about freedom to come to lectures you want to come to without, I don't want to go blue, without jackasses, although semi-blues, jackasses blocking doors to prevent people from hearing differing points of view? And how about some basic civic values too? How about don't have babies without being married, don't engage in crime? President Obama says we can't define liberty in exactly the same way, but we should, otherwise your liberty is my tyranny and your tyranny is my liberty. And that's exactly where we are. Those people out front who are protesting right now, blocking people from engaging in their First Amendment rights, those people, they think they are standing up for liberty when what they are really standing up for is tyranny. Finally, the third type of diversity, and the only one that really matters, diversity of viewpoint. Okay, that's the only one that's really useful. You know the kinds of viewpoint that your professors want to shut down when they call me a racist without evidence, or when they suggest that you're a white supremacist because you sponsored this lecture or wanted to come. Science actually demonstrates diversity of viewpoint is a highly useful thing. New takes on old subjects are a good thing. When we all have the same goals and the same fundamental values of freedom, liberty, and consent, magic happens. That's the power of the free market. That's the power of diversity. That's how the free political debate works. We argue about the best solutions, and then we meet, and sometimes we disagree, and somebody wins and somebody loses, and we try it out, and we see what works. The diversity of viewpoints makes stuff better. That's why you have nice phones, because there was a diversity of viewpoint on what a nice phone constitutes, and so there was competition in the marketplace, and you end up with a really nice phone that has a camera on it, so you can go outside, be a reporter, and take pictures of all of the terrible people doing terrible things and assaulting people out front. In The Wisdom of Crowds, a reporter named James Surowiecki, and he writes, quote, diversity and independence are important because the best collective decisions are the product of disagreement and contest, not consensus or compromise. You need debate. It's a worthwhile, good, positive thing. We argue, we don't agree, and we are better for it, as individuals and as a community. We listen to each other. Listen to each other. What a tough idea. And that's why lectures like this one are necessary. That's why the monopoly of your professors is damaging and terrible. This is why the safe spaces of the people outside are just fascist spaces. Spaces that are supposed to be cleared of all ideas that could possibly hurt feelings. That's why trigger warnings make you intellectual weaklings and moral bullies and bigots. There's only one problem with the diversity of viewpoint. It might challenge your feelings. It's not easy. It turns out people might hurt your feelings. People might be mean to you. People might make you feel inferior. People might hurt your precious self-esteem. Well, tough. It might include microaggressions. In a civilized society, you can't use microaggressions to macroaggressions to fight microaggressions. Being a here. So, to all the people who are standing outside, people here understand the value of free speech. That's why you're here, right, left, or center. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here listening. And for all the people outside, so here's my message to the bloviating jackasses outside. Toughen up, you spoiled brat snowflakes, if you actually want a better world. We can have an actual conversation if they were up for it. They're crazy. They can ask questions. They could have engaged that way.
Their game was amazing. I
Maybe they're right about how to solve America's problems.
Diamond Terran.
The audience is right.
And he did Mech.
We're never going to know
terrible versus
because they
Mech.
won't let the conversation happen.
Dude, if it doesn't save this
There are
game,
three types of diversity.
if it doesn't save this game, I will have a shit fit. Because that was so good.
That means real human suffering.
I feel like I'm
shutting
like
down
playing
debate,
at my
targeting
best
people
now.
who
I'm
oppose
definitely
outright
diamond.
racism, sexism,
I'm getting
bigotry,
back,
totalitarianism from the highest levels of this godforsaken
Cannot
university.
wait.
The third
to
type
be
of
back in
diversity,
Diamond.
diversity